Parsha Pinchas is almost always read at the onset of the 3 weeks, suggesting some sort of correlation between the theme of the Parsha and indeed the theme of the 3 weeks. Pinchas, out of a profound love for his fellow Jews, went against the odds, risked much in the process, and avenged Hashem's honor. And as a result, Hashem rewards him with Hineni Naisin Lai Brisi Shalom, behold, I give him my covenant of peace. Curiously, when looking at the Torah, one will find that the word shalom is written in an unusual manner. Ordinarily, we know if a letter in the Torah is cracked or erased, it renders the whole Torah unfit for use. And yet, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives Pinchas brisi shalom, the middle letter of shalom, the letter vav, is split. In this one instance, it's done deliberately so because it conveys a powerful message, and that is that if we are to achieve shalom, then we need to first and foremost appreciate that we are all letters of a Torah. We all make up the collective whole of Am Yisrael, which is far greater than the sum of its parts. Just as one letter being split or erased affects the totality of the Torah, so too when one Jew is hurting and goes astray, it's not just his or her problem, but our collective problem. Says the Baal HaTurim, this vav represents the vav that we find in 5 instances in the name Yaakov, and lacking in 5 instances in the name Eliyahu. In other words, as per what Chazal tell us, in 5 instances, Yaakov is spelled with an added vav in the middle, and in 5 instances, Eliyahu is spelled without the vav at the end. And this because Yaakov is holding the vav as collateral, as a mashkan, until Eliyahu comes to be mavasser, to inform us about the redemption with the coming of Mashiach. Says the Baal HaTurim, this is what is written, Yogel Yaakov Yismach Yisrael. Yismach, he points out, is Oisya, is the letters of Mashiach. Yogel Yaakov, when will Yaakov rejoice? When he can give back the Vav, Yismach Yisrael, as Mashiach will come. All that alluded to in the split Vav in the word Shalom, because the Vav is split and we have to bridge that gap with Shalom, with Achdus, with profound unity. That's how Yaakov can give the Vav back. That's how Eliyahu can get the Vav back. And just for added measure, the Baal HaTurim adds, Shalom has the numerical value as the gematria of Zehu Mashiach. You know, there's a curious story told in the Gemara about Rabbi Elazar, or Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, who was once traveling along when he passed a rather homely-looking individual. And looking at him, Rabbi Elazar remarked, Reika kama mechor oisoish, how ugly is this man? And the man, of course, upon hearing this insult, turned to him and replied, Lech va'emer ha'oman shosani, go back to the craftsman who formed me. In other words, you don't like the way I look, take it up with the manufacturer. Rabbi Elazar felt an immediate sense of remorse and followed the man for miles, begging his forgiveness. What's happening in the story? Is it conceivable that someone like Rabbi Elazar could be so superficial as to judge another based on external appearance? But now imagine it was something more of a spiritual challenge. Imagine someone getting up and saying, how ugly is this person religiously? How devoid is this person of any spiritual substance? How crass is this person so disconnected from the Yiddishkeit? Can you imagine someone speaking like that? Maybe not expressed verbally, but maybe by looking down, by nuance and innuendo. The Gemara makes a deliberate point of telling us that Rabbi Elazar was coming, mibeis rabbi, was coming from studying. The samach simcha gedola v'ha'isa daitoi gasa olav. He was feeling really good about himself, because he just finished learning a geschmack ashir, a really enjoyable piece of learning. Rashi steps in and adds, Yesh Sfarim, there are some Shekosav that write that this was not just a random individual, but it was Eliyahu Zachor Latov. And that he was coming along very deliberately to reprimand Rabbi Elazar not to conduct himself in this sort of way. Tosfos also makes the identical point over here. What's the message? You know that elated feeling generated after enjoying a satisfying shir or doing many mitzvahs, and you feel good about yourself. There's nothing wrong with the feeling per se. It just becomes a problem when daitoi gasolov, when you become full of yourself such that there is no room for the other. The key is in Rabbi Elazar's opening word, reika, empty one. He didn't just reflect on the man's external appearance. He was looking beneath the surface and he didn't like what he saw. The man that stood before him was void and null of any spirituality. How ugly is this man? Rabbi Elazar, an account of his newly acquired spiritual contentment engendered from his learning, is quick to condemn this lesser mortal. But the man retorts, Lech v'amar laha'oman shasani. Go back to the craftsman who formed me. By definition, I too was created b'tzelem Elokim. I may not be as the same lofty stature as you, but the same craftsman who formed you formed me as well. And so this man, or more precisely, Eliyahu Hanavi, is looking to teach Rabbi Elazar an important lesson that is equally pertinent to all of us. Sometimes there is this holier than thou mindset, whereby we might tend to look down upon those whom we might feel or recognize may not be up to parity to our own spiritual disposition. So this man, Eliyahu, retorts with a fundamental Jewish principle, you don't know where he's been. You don't know the DNA makeup of his or her soul. In the words of Sefer Natanya, though at first glance a person might appear to be loathsome and despicable, who can know their true greatness and excellence in their root and source in HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Look beyond the supposed skin-deep ugliness and see the good and the brilliance beneath. Rabbi Tzadok HaKohen, on this very story, says that this is the essence of the mitzvah of Ahavas Yisrael, and that regardless of the enormity of the sin, va'amech kulam tzadikim, everybody is righteous, and the only thing that gets in the way sometimes of a person stumbling is the sa'ar shaba'isa, the yetzer hara, the untrue self that might lead a person astray. But with teshuvah, everyone can find their way back. So we don't get to write anyone off. Thus says the Gemara when introducing us to that story of Rabbi Elazar, it's about being soft like a reed towards other people. Or in the words of Avos Rav Nosson, just like a kona, a reed, can be flexible and moving in the wind, and it bends whichever way the wind blows. But ultimately, I'm made b'mkaima, when the wind stops blowing, it stands back into its original place. When you reach out to somebody else, you're not compromising your principles. When you're being flexible towards other, you're not compromising your integrity. You can be made b'mkaima. You can still stand firmly in your place, maintain your dignity, keep to your standards, even as you bend to reach out to another. And that's the significance and the emphasis of both Rashi and Tosfos, jumping in here to stress that this was really Eliyahu Hanavi, because it's precisely this mindset, this holier than thou attitude, that perhaps keeps us stuck here in this golus, that the sinas chinam that landed us in this golus might be still very much manifest, and that the antidote is avas chinam, gratuitous love, loving someone even when there may be seemingly nothing to love about them. Pinchas ze Eliyahu. Pinchas himself demonstrated this in his own way, and Eliyahu Hanavi teaches us that as well. Because even as somebody else might be seemingly reka, empty, mechor, ugly, when we love them just the same, that's when Pinchas ze Eliyahu will come and herald the Geula.